this way we can share with people who were not able to attend, because I do know, how crazy our lives are. And, everyone kind of has a little different journey, but if anybody understands the journey that we are on, it's, the people on this Zoom and the people who are going to watch later. And we always understand things come up, and I'm grateful that we have, resources like this that we can Zoom and watch later, and lots of different time zones. And I was just so excited to see all the excitement with, kind of just throwing out this meeting, being like, do you guys want to meet and let's just talk about all the amazing things that are going on? And even just seeing James zooming in all the way from Australia, that's amazing. So thank you so much. It really, it means the world to see all you guys here and see just the community coming together, because communities, it can make a journey a lot easier if you have community. So I just want to say thank you to you all for showing up. So Becca's kind of the co-lead on the call with me, and it's really helpful to bounce ideas off of Becca because she's a relatively new diagnosis. So sometimes I'll kind of go off on tangents, and Becca kind of says, hey, I have no idea what you just said. So we kind of work together putting this presentation together, and just, a mixture of just me just kind of living in this world for the past 3 years and just working, next to Vanessa, and, working alongside Kelly, who I know is here too, and Kim, who started this foundation, and, just starting it up and just taking it off to where it is. And the goal of this meeting is kind of to let you guys know what we've been up to. And, I wish I've been able to give more updates and have more transparency and the ability just to have these meetings. But life is hard and it gets away from us. So I'm glad we're able to do this today. All right. So, I kind of gave a background on, what the goal of the meeting tonight was. And it's just to, bring us up to speed. And there's a lot of reasons to be engaged and be excited. There's a lot of really exciting things going on. And, I met with a Med13L mom today who lives in the Chicagoland area. And it was really, really cool to, for the first time, meet someone who was local. And I just, I shared kind of what we've been working on, and she's like, some of these, what is your goal? What does this look like to you? And I'm like, how sometimes our kiddos have good days and sometimes they have hard days. My goal is to make the good days a little bit better and a little bit more consistent. And I think that is realistic, and just help our kiddos be their best selves. So that has been what we've been working on. And I shared before, we had Combined Brain is a group that supports us. There's about 150 other rare disease groups in it, and we just collaborate together and we work on, first of all, how can we understand our different disorders, and when we go to the doctor, how can we get the best clinical care that our children deserve? How do we inform our clinicians of, what should we be looking for? Do we think that this symptom that we're seeing with our child, do you think this is, part of, a gene mutation on the Med13L gene, and that's kind of what's causing some of the symptoms we're seeing? Do we think it could be this mitochondria dysfunction, and just, our kiddos' cells are just not working at the best of their abilities sometimes? What do we think it is? So Combined Brain did reach out to us to let us know that someone in industry is asking about Med13L and wants to invest in Med13L. And what does that mean for us? It means we need to be ready and to be engaged to work with them. So that's what we have been working on. And you do that with first publications. And I remember when I just got my diagnosis, for my son Colin, I went out to dinner with a good friend who's a genetic counselor, and she's like, Katie, you guys need a gene review. When you told me, you know, Colin has MED13L, I went on the gene review database. You guys don't have a gene review. So at this time, we were working with Rachel Heilman, who is our director of research. And I was like, Rachel, I figured out what we need. We need a gene review. And she's like, Katie, you guys are so far away from a gene review. First, you need to fund basic science. First, you need to get surveys. You need to engage the community. Like, there are so many things that need to happen before you get this gene review. So felt, you know, a little deflated, went back, you know, to work and asked all you guys to start filling out some surveys, giving us some information. And we started funding research. And with that research, Dr. Alicia Campbell, who actually just became a doctor today, which is really exciting. The gene review for MED13L just got published. So actually, Vanessa, do you mind? I started doing a Google Sheet, but I ran out of time. Do you mind doing a Google Sheet and dropping it in the chat so people can kind of leave their name and their email address, and I can email people all the resources from the talk today? Yeah. Out later, just so I have a list of emails. I will send out the gene review link, but on a go forward basis, any doctor you talk to, instead of just looking up whatever first publication they see and whatever is the first symptom that kind of jumps out at them that they really want to focus on, and you're like, well, that doesn't really describe my child. For the first time ever, literally as of a week ago, we are on this database and we have a gene review. So this is really exciting. And it's also, you know, it's something you can bring in, you can show your therapist, and you can show your school for your IEPs. So really excited about that. And it raises awareness. Having MED13L in this database raises awareness among other clinicians. I don't know if you guys have experiences like I do when, you know, you walk into your doctor's appointment and it is very apparent that your doctor has never, not only not seen a child with MED13L, but hasn't even heard of MED13L. And that's just a really tough feeling, at least for me as a mom. And that's really what we've been working really, really hard to do, to get these publications out. So now when, you know, doctors are looking up MED13L, the most up-to-date information is there. So what did she put in the gene review? And either Becca or Vanessa too, we can put in the YouTube link so you guys can watch. Vanessa or Alicia was actually going to present on her gene review tonight, but her parents surprised her with a dinner. So I guess we can allow her to have dinner since she did just finish a doctorate program in molecular sciences, focusing on MED13L. But so she did record this, so you guys can all watch that, and then you can read this gene review. And you know, these are the symptoms that kind of appear to be right now the most popular. That being said, this information did not capture the RareX information, and we'll talk about that later. So these are the ones that prior to RareX have been the most reported. So with that information, we've also put together, we've updated again this new diagnosis handout. And I'll also put this in my email, and every single thing that is underlined is a link, for example, with additional information. If you have visual, so we will get that sent out too. And once again, Vanessa put a lot of love and heart into this handout. So next, I kind of just want to talk about what Alicia has been working on. So the principal investigator is Dr. Randy Stritch. Remembers from the 2002 Baltimore Simon Searchlight Conference. That's who we met, and he presented on, he had this theory about MED13L. He'd been working on it for a little bit, and after that presentation, the foundation, approached him and said, what do you need from us to prove this theory? And he said, like every researcher, I need your money and I need your kid samples. So 12 of you guys flew out, drove out, took the train out to Columbia and donated, had skin punches done by Dr. Bain. And Dr. Bain prepared those and sent them over to Dr. Randy. And then he appointed Alicia. And Alicia has been working on these fibroblasts since then. And she has been kind of looking at how the mutation on the MED13L gene affects the mitochondria. And when people hear mitochondria disease, people, you get really worried as a parent. You're like, what does this mean? And we just want to be really clear that this is not primary mitochondria disease, but rather secondary. So it's not that the cells are dying, it's just that they're not as efficient as they could be. They're not acting exactly how they should be. And that could perhaps be the cause of some of the challenges we see with some of our children, why they fatigue, why it takes a little longer to get over illness. So Alicia has been working on this, and she will spend until July analyzing all of this and coming to conclusions, and she will present her findings at the conference. And for those of you who are able to attend in person, you'll be able to hear that talk. And if you can't attend, we will record it, and we will have all recordings readily available. And if everyone feels appropriate, we can have another Zoom, another Q&A, so you can ask these questions to Alicia, because we just want everyone to feel like they have complete transparency and understand where we're at, what we're trying to do. But they're really, it's tough to see that, our children may have this mitochondrial fragmentation, but it's also an avenue for treatment. And it's an avenue to kind of, you have a vitamin D deficiency, you take vitamin B, and it just helps you be, your best self. So I think it's really exciting. Let's move this over. So this slide that I probably should have clicked to before is more about what our mitochondria does. If anybody remembers from biology class, mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. So Alicia has been putting different FDA-approved compounds on the cells, and it's seeing if it's rescuing that mitochondria. So the mitochondria has been fragmented because of this MED13L mutation. You put a repurposed drug on there, and is that rescuing the mitochondria to get back into the proper state? And, we theorize that we can see improvement with walking, improvement in, clarity, improvement in processing information, communicate, behaviors too, because, I truly feel a lot of, at least with my son, when I see him having any self-injurious behavior, it's because he's not being able to communicate his needs. The older he gets, the more complex his needs are becoming. And if we can improve our children's ability to communicate, and I keep saying children, and I mean, individuals of all age, if you improve the ability to communicate, I do think we'll see, a reduction in self-injurious behaviors and other similar behaviors. So, again, this, we're not curing, we're just looking to live your best life and giving everyone the ability to be their best self.
Katie, do you want to pause and see if there's questions?
Sure.
Pause. Does anybody have questions? Because I know I get overwhelmed with the mitochondria stuff, so it's just a lot of information. I want to open it up for everybody.
I think, am I muted? Unmuted?
No, you're on.
Okay, sorry. I just, I think I just put a link in the chat for YouTube. We don't promote this this specific video or whatever, but it's just something like a quick Google, like mitochondrial dysfunction. Like, what is it? I know it's a lot of big terms that, like, as Katie's mentioning, but essentially what, in the way like my brain processes it is, med13L, as you guys know, is our kids, we're all here because our kids med13L has a variant on it, which means it's not working properly. So it's kind of the instructions for a very important protein that is needed for everything in our body, right? So the instructions are wrong. Some of them have, some instructions that are correct. Some of us have instructions where, the instruction, there's too much language in there that the body's getting confused as to what to do. But in any case, it's not typical instructions like those of us that are not impacted with med13O. The downstream effect of having the wrong instructions for a recipe is your bread's not going to rise, right? For your cookies aren't going to, I don't know, they're going to go flat, whatever it is. It's the instructions that are not correct. So with mitochondria, which, as we all know, back in the day, it's like, that's what's needed for the energy production of every single cell in our body. And so if every single cell in our body, whether it's our brains, it's our heart, it's our muscles, it's our liver, it's our GI tract, if those cells aren't functioning properly, it's what is happening is what we are seeing every day with our children. So that's the end result of the mitochondria being dysfunctional. So like Katie had said is, like the behavioral issues. Well, perhaps like some of our kids, they don't have endurance, right? They start out good, but then they fatigue extremely quickly, or they have inability to tolerate heat, right? Because that causes your body to like kind of regulate, like self-regulate temperatures in your body. There's so many different things that require cell energy to work. All of our kids at this point are showing, based on what Dr. Campbell has found, is that all of our kids' energy levels are not sufficient for a typical presentation. Again, why we're always like, oh, my kid has special needs. This is why. This is literally why. And what Katie's saying is like with when there's a deficiency, there's usually, if it's a known deficiency that's been out for a long time, there has been some methods to find treatment. So mitochondrial disease is actually, there are many much larger diseases out there that have been around that are not rare, that are, that are more common, and they have treatment already for those. So we as a foundation have to potentially investigate whether or not those treatments will actually impact our children. So, but what is also really cool about this is seeing the mitochondrial dysfunction at the cellular level in a Petri dish. What we're doing, and I don't know if this is like an Excel or next slide, but we're paying these researchers to look at all the drugs that's on the market, whether naproxen, right? Like we pushed that out last year. We found that like naproxen, which is just a leaf, you can find it in CVS or Walgreens or whatever pharmacy you have in your local neighborhood, that actually improves the dysfunction. So for all of us, we may see different things because all of our kids have slightly different variants. But for me, and I'm not saying this from a foundation standpoint, but for me, some of the things that I've seen when I've given my daughter these things is her cognition slightly improves. I'm getting reports from her teacher like, oh my gosh, I don't know what's going on, but she's on it. And those things, is she cured? Does she no longer have med13L? No. But she's able to attend, her speech is picking up, she's less fatigued, she's able to participate in her programming a lot more. And it's third-party people that are like calling me. So those are the things that we as a foundation are trying to find for our kids to make their day-to-day easier and to allow them to gain skills that perhaps were considered out of their reach. So sorry, Katie, I went on a tangent.
No, and I think Vanessa's superpower on top of graphics is that she's a nurse. So she has a lot of experience explaining the science in a way that people understand it. So, and,
That
I'll
was,
never forget,
that was
she's one of
helpful.
the first people, pardon?
So that was helpful to hear
Yeah.
from Vanessa, just the function of it. Does anybody have questions outside of that?
Yeah, Vanessa, I'm just interested in what you said. Naproxen, I hadn't heard that, and I'd be interested to trial it if you're getting those sort of results as well. So, are you able to what is? Because I've just done a Google now, and it's saying an anti-inflammatory drug. Is that what I'm looking at?
Yeah, so it's readily available in the US. I know you're in Australia. It's readily available in the US literally everywhere. There's actually a lot of, there was a very robust study done for children with juvenile arthritis. So there is some dosing recommendations for children with that. We are recommending as a foundation, talk to your doctors. We are not recommending to get, we don't have a dose to give because that in itself is a clinical trial. Again, another thing that we have to like ask our community, help us fundraise, because a clinical trial in itself would cost at a minimum $1 million. What that means, if we were to able to get to the point of where we could say, James, give your son this dose, this like one pill twice a day, blah 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 for this long. We have to be able to prove it in a study where a doctor, a physician is following that child. They're checking their liver enzymes, they're checking their kidney function, they're checking their blood pressure, making sure everything's okay before we can actually say this is safe for your kid and this is how you give it and this is how frequent. We cannot legally say any of that. However, because it is already an over-the-counter medication, you can literally walk in here in the States, you can walk in anywhere and get it. And we're suggesting to people, if you are interested in trying, to discuss, like I put a PDF on our website. If you go into, where is it, under research, Katie? If you go into our website, we have what the findings were. And we strongly urge people to talk to their pediatricians. And I'm going to tell you, this is me, not from the foundation. This is me just as a fellow Med13L mom. My daughter is Elle, by the way. She's 8. She's probably going to run here in half a second. But I spoke with my pediatrician and I said, this is what I want to do. I want to try it. There is some potential, it's metabolized through the kidneys. So, you got to watch out for that. There was a study that they had kids on it for a year with no issue, but you never know if your kid's the one, right? So what I'm doing to kind of like do my due diligence is I'm working with my pediatrician. We're trialing a low dose and then we're checking labs and I'm seeing how she's doing. I'm seeing liver wise, kidney wise, blood pressure, everything. I'm checking her urine. I bought some home kit to check that stuff too, because I'm psychotic. But, so I'm doing all of that. And for us, we're pulse dosing. Like we're doing 1 week on, 1 week off, 1 week on, 1 week off, just to see. And I can personally tell you, again, not coming from the foundation, the weeks that she's on, I get texts from her therapist, texts from her teacher saying she's on fire today. Go ahead, Stephanie, sorry.
I was going to say Serafina has von Willebrand's disease. So it affects your platelet and your blood.
Like clotting.
Yeah, your or your red blood cell count. Right, I think the von Willebrand factor in there, but she can't take naproxen because it like kills all that stuff. So they weren't sure if it's part of the Med13L syndrome or if it's something else. But they're like absolutely no naproxen ever for her. We take Celebrex if she's sick or running a temperature.
Yeah. So, but Stephanie, but what's important is naproxen is literally just the first easily recommendable compound that we found. And we say compound, it means just like a drug, right? And naproxen, even though it's over the counter, it's still a drug. That's the first one we found that we're like, holy cow, this is readily available. It's super cheap. Anyone can go and take it. Again, every kid is different, right? Some of our kids have double variants of something else, like, right? Like everyone's dealing with something different. So you have to talk to your doctor. But that's the first thing we found. That's why I know we probably sound really annoying, but we're like, we need to fundraise because we want to research other drugs. And because here's the thing, is naproxen going to be the golden ticket? to help our kids? No, because we're just dealing with upregulating Med13L, but that's all that does. But we don't know if it does it to nth degree that she needs. Maybe she needs to add something else to it, or maybe we need to deal with something that's the downstream effect of the Med13L not being impacted, or the variant, whatever. So it's like, that's actually just one. So we're actively getting ready to fund another, what is it, like $75,000, Katie, for a researcher that I'm jumping across all of your presentation, sorry. But that's why every dollar counts, is because we're not giving up. We're trying to help every single child with every type of variant to figure out different solutions. And we want to get like a roster of medications that you can take to your doctor and say, help me figure out a cocktail for my kid. Because it is going to be many things. It's not going to be one thing. There's no one single thing that's going to make our kids typical. There's just not. Sorry, Katie, took over again.
Yeah, well, and I think you set up for the next slide. And whoop, nope, that went backwards. Would have been the next slide. So I've seen a lot of posts about a clinical trial. Like, okay, you have this drug naproxen, guys. What's the next step? What foundation? What are you doing? Get your act together. Come on. And like, you guys, nobody wants to move faster than Vanessa. Believe us. She's like, we like have to hold her back and like, hold on. So we do. And Dr. Jen Bain, she's on our SAB, thanks once again to Vanessa. She's like, I will do this for you guys, but once again, I need your money. That's what they always say to us. And there are things that you have to provide. We have to figure out what are meaningful clinical measurements. So what does that mean? What are things that we can measure in your community in a meaningful way that we can say, hey, I say, Colin's doing great. Vanessa says, Elle's talking up a storm today. But the FDA doesn't really care about that as much. They do a little bit. That's another part of it. But what is something evidence-based that we can measure? And that is what some opportunities that we are going to get some of these baseline measurements is at the conference. And the most exciting study that we have, and this is a huge deal, is Boston Children's Hospital reached out to Med13L Foundation and said, hey, we are interested in you guys. I mean, that is like the most popular kid in high school asking you out on a date. Like, this is really, really exciting. So we have been negotiating this contract for 18 months because it is painfully slow and it's painfully tedious. But we wanted to make sure that every single assessment in there really would capture what our community looks like, where they struggle with, and where there's room for improvement. So, thanks to Rachel, she did an amazing job saying, hey, I mean, Boston Children's, you guys are brilliant scientists, doctors, clinicians, all the things, but there's nobody that knows Med13L better from a scientific point of view than, in my opinion, Rachel. There may be, hopefully a researcher may watch this video, and I'm sorry, you guys are wonderful too. But Rachel has literally read and digested and thinks about, I mean, I think she dreams about our kids' genetic sequences at night. And I'm not kidding you guys. And she says, no, like these are the measurements. So we have agreed to give Boston Children's a $250,000 grant for a 3-year longitudinal study. So that means they will follow 30 children for 3 years. So we will be able to see and we're trying to get individuals of all ages, so we can see what every year looks like and what the change looks like. And so, we don't have to finish the natural history study before we can start a clinical trial, but just going through the process of what do we agree upon are meaningful measurement points was an exercise that we had to do first. So we started it. We're engaged with it. Dr. Bain is going to be there in July. So, if everyone could just be like, where's our clinical trial? That would be great. Just a little nudge, and I don't know, maybe slip her $5 or something. Maybe that'll be enough. No, but I think it is really, really exciting. And you know what? If there's only, we could only, it's crazy, but it's $250,000 for 30 individuals. Like, these things are just so wildly expensive. I wish we could fund 100. But that's just kind of where we're at right now. But there will be more than one natural history study. And as all the different country groups are coming together, is there a researcher in Australia? Is there a researcher in England who's like, hey, I want to do a natural history study on these 30 kids or on these 10 kids? Multiple natural history studies only gives us a better understanding of what meaningful measurements are, what Med13L looks like. So this is something that I hope to be repeated everywhere. And that's frustrating. It's in Boston. That's not easy for everybody to get to. James, you're like number one in my screen right now, so I can see you the most. So that's so frustrating. You're like, I live in Australia, I can't go to you. But what the natural history study is a piece of the puzzle. But these Rare X surveys are another huge piece. And I have been begging you guys. Vanessa has been begging you. Becca has been helping with regional ambassadors, emailing everyone. And 110 people signed up for Rare X. And that's just amazing. And, Becca will do it. We'll talk about this later, but there are other platforms too. So there's ways to participate if you can't, if it's just not feasible to get to Boston. Another assessment
Katie, I think we switched and hopefully everyone caught it, but just in case someone walked away for a minute, we're now this screen is the research opportunities at the conference, correct?
Correct. At the conference.
Awesome.
But I don't want people to get frustrated because
are
they can't. The blood collections, that's number one. That is US based. We are working with Europe because there are some researchers flying to Europe for conferences and flying back. So I do believe we are able, there is a blood collection in Europe. I can't recall where, but we will definitely promote that too. But again, if there are people in other countries who are like, I want to participate in these research opportunities, let's try to figure it out. And, we need a researcher in your country who's on board. And we can definitely, Vanessa knows how to sweet talk researchers to get them to do some favors and take some blood on from us.
Actually,
Okay.
what I do is I just cry and I say,
She
please
does.
help me and my kids, and the kids like my daughter. That's actually how I do it. It's not sweet talking.
That's
And
her
there's a
superpower.
question. There's a question in the chat box. I think it's just good to know.
Yes.
Megan asked, just to confirm, the natural history study doesn't include any specific interventions. It's just following kids or anyone with Med13L and tracking what things look like. Is that accurate?
Correct. And I guess the word intervention, because I'm not a doctor or therapist,
Yeah.
so Vanessa might correct me, but it is just different surveys. And then there is an EEG component. And that's another thing we'll talk about in a second. But did you have something to say, Vanessa?
Yeah, sorry, I had to get Elle to bed, but and you may have said this, so just tell me to stop talking if you did. But so I think natural history study can sound extremely confusing to a lot of people. Really what a natural history study means in science lingo is they want to see what your child looks like from in utero when you're still pregnant. I'm going to use no science terms, while you're still pregnant, to where they are today. Where did they struggle? What did you notice they actually hit milestones on time for? If they did, were they social? Were they, eating solids 10 months, whatever? Did they have any surgical interventions? What therapeutic support did you get for them? And then they want to see, okay, typically based on all these participants, and that's what we literally want as many people as possible to participate, and like a wide variety of different types of med13L kids, meaning like the different types of variants. We want everyone to participate. So the researchers can say, okay, a kid with med13L at 6 months typically presents like this, right? Just based on all the research. And they may even break it down if we can fund them, right? Everything comes down to money to say, okay, a child with a missense variant at 6 months looks like this. A child with a nonsense variant, like, so it's however much money that we're able to fund and however much we can rally our community to document their information, to be able to put it out there. And there's so many benefits to that for this. Number one, newly diagnosed families have an idea. Listen, we've all been there. We all know getting that paper, that GeneDx paper, or whatever lab you got it from, it's devastating. You go on, you join Facebook, and it's devastating. You know, you finally have answers. It's nothing's changed for who your child, but there's like a level of permanence that you really never were truly prepared for until you got that diagnosis, right? And so what you can do from that is, like, with this natural history study, someone's going to publish it with a lot of money. When we pay them a lot of money, they'll publish it. And then what's going to happen is we're going to be able to go on and be like, oh, wow, well, look at, like, there's kids like Coral, like you guys met Coral earlier. Like, oh my, she speaks, you know, like there's potential for our kids. So you know what, I'm going to do everything I can to get speech therapy, or my daughter does like myofunctional therapy too on top of that, and feeding therapy, right? Because there's hope. This isn't a death sentence, right? It's like, this is what we have to do. And then on top of that, what perhaps the natural history study will show is, like, the kids that received intensive therapy of blah blah blah, speech or physical, whatever, 3 times a week for this duration, they actually, you know, had more words at this age. There's so much information that can come out of all of us literally just documenting our stories of our children. And that's why we say Rare X is important, and the natural history study is important. And then from there, there's going to be another platform, but I'm not going to throw that to you. But the other thing that's super important is, so the pharmaceutical company that Katie mentioned at the very beginning of the call is important, because what they need to, Vern, would you mind muting yourself, please? Thanks. So one of the things that pharmaceutical companies need to show is, okay, a kid who is 10 years old with med13L typically look like this, but this drug that I found, this drug that I'm trying, it changes their trajectory. So now a typical med13L kiddo at 10 years old is actually able to do all of this. That's the proof that the FDA, the governing, the drug regulators, for those of you that are not in the US, that's the proof that the FDA needs to say that it is making it's making an impact. It's changing the child's trajectory of their skill set, of their life, of their access to things. It's changing it in a way where it's meaningful and it's safe. So those are the two things. But they cannot show that their drug changes anything if they don't know what our kids typically look like. So it's our job as parents to document. So that's why I think, Katie, you said this, if you can't donate $1, just donate your documentation. If you can't donate anything, that's fine. Please sit down, fill out the surveys, participate in every single Simon Searchlight, Rare X, this natural, anything that you can. That is how you can impact your child's future. Sorry, I got off my soapbox.
Yeah, I agree. That was beautiful. Well said. So, Rachel came up with the clever synonym of the MIND study. And it is failing me right now. I know the M stands for med13L. And the I and the N and the D are failing me. So if you see natural history study or MIND study, it is the same thing. Boston was a little confused that would confuse you guys, but I think we can come up, and everybody likes a nice short name for something. So to get enrolled, If you email me, I can't enroll you. This is all because it's Boston Children's. It has to be HIPAA compliant. So they are going to send out enrollment. I will blast it out. Vanessa will make a beautiful graph and all the things. But you have to follow up with Boston Children's yourself if you want to be involved. One other thing, I know we're getting I'm talking a little too long, but the speech assessment, if any of you guys have seen that video on YouTube it's on our YouTube page. It's linked in from Simon Searchlight. It's from the 2022 conference, and it is the cognition and speech assessment. I have found it to date to be one of the most helpful videos from Med13L. I've showed it to all of my son's therapists, and we reached out to them, and they are going to come again, and they're going to do another assessment. And you're eligible if you did not participate in the 2022 one. They already have that information. They're looking.
Thanks for having me talk today.
Pardon? So they're looking for more people to be enrolled, and then hopefully, we'll have another YouTube video update, but also a publication, which is just really, really exciting because what we learned in this video is a lot of our children have apraxia, and I'm going to save that one for Becca later because I keep stealing everything Becca's saying. So I think you guys know about the conference. So if there are any questions, drop it in the chat. I am going backwards again. All right. So what Vanessa was just talking about was the surveys and just kind of begging to share your surveys. And I'm going to pass the torch over to Becca in a second, but that's why for this Med13L Awareness Month, the tagline is make every story count, because every story does count. And telling our children's story is how we are going to find the answers of what is Med13L. What can we anticipate? What are the answers to our questions? What should we be looking for? What should we be preparing for? And how can we ensure our children have the best life and the best clinical care they can? And it is in telling your story. So, here are all the ways. And if, we would love for if anyone who's able to fundraise, because, I think in America, it's NIH grants are science. We're having a hard time right now. So money that we thought we could rely on is not there. So now more than ever, we have in excess of $300,000 in grants of research funding, which is amazing. But we got to pay for it. So if you can, please do. And if you can't, please spread awareness, share your story. And Becca, I think I have talked too much, so it's your turn now. Let me know if you want me to change the slide.
This is yours. This is not mine.
Oh man. Okay. So 16 of you participated in the disease concept model. This was it was like a gene review, and anyone in science would probably yell at me for saying that, but in my simple mind, that's how I understand it. They interviewed 16 parents of children with Med13L, one caregiver. There were also two therapists and a teacher, I believe, who were also interviewed. And what they saw was there's a large discrepancy between what is currently in our publication and what caregivers are reporting they are seeing symptoms in their child. Huge, huge, huge discrepancy. And is that because they just weren't seeing that, people weren't getting diagnosed, or was it because scientists were deciding what they wanted to report on? And it's probably a little bit of both. So the disease concept model is showing what 16 parents care about. So the next step is a priority survey. And Rachel has been tirelessly working on this survey, building out a survey and building it out in a way like the Vineland. You know how some Vinelands, if you answer no 5 times, it stops, and other Vinelands make you answer no for like the next 20 minutes. And it's just the worst experience ever. This isn't asking, this is more, what do you care about? But depending on what you care about will populate different questions. So that's why it's so time consuming to build. But we are going to start rolling that out June or July. And that's where we really are asking you, what do you guys, parents, caregivers, care about Med13L? Where should we be putting our efforts? What kind of research do you want to see? What kind of answers do you want? Questions do you want answered? And tell us what to do. So, it is really exciting, and it is being done in a very thoughtful and strategic way. Becca, is now.
Katie, is this a good time to show the graphic of the?
You know what? I'll email that out. I don't have it. I'll have to like unshare my screen to find it. And
Okay.
do you do you have it too?
Have it, but I don't know how to, like, I can't share while you're sharing it.
Yeah,
up.
that's fair.
Yeah.
I will email it out.
I wonder if I could just put it in here. Well, is
Put
that
it in the
allowed?
chat.
Yeah.
So this rare, I can just talk about RareX if you want to see if you can try to do that. I know we have bored you guys to death with RareX. Everybody, I don't know, if we had $1 for every time we've said RareX, we would have enough money to fund the natural history study. But what's really exciting is that we are going to have another publication, and this publication will include 110 individuals. This will be the largest publication to date, the most comprehensive publication, and it will be next to the Gene Review, the next publication that people, researchers, doctors, clinicians, therapists will see when they search Med13L. So in theory, you will have doctor appointments that the doctor will start focusing on things that actually sound like your child, not hearing things being like, nope, they don't have that, they don't have that, but they do have that, and you're telling me that it isn't Med13L, but I'm seeing it reported about 100 times in the Facebook group, like the experience I had with my doctor and asking if strabismus was related to Med13L, and they're like, oh no, that was only mentioned like twice in the publication. And then I went to Facebook and it was mentioned like 50 times. So we're gonna, it is really exciting. Do you want to talk about why Simons is important?
No, so I did just put in the group chat just a document, and it's titled Interviews versus Literature, and just what that means is just the difference of what's in the medical literature, what's published out there. So if genetic counselors aren't familiar with Med13L, what they would find the concerns are, and then what interviews are saying. And I think we're just trying to show the discrepancy. And that's where filling out these surveys gives so much information and is so important in participating in research in any way you can. Because I think the prime example, and I'm just speaking to myself, I don't know what other people experienced was, but my genetics counselor, when we got the diagnosis for Cooper, was so focused on the heart abnormalities or heart defect component of it. And Cooper never showed any signs. We did get it checked. It was fine. So we just really want to make sure that the literature matches what our kids really look like. And so that's what that document just shows, is the discrepancy between the two. Am I explaining that correctly, Katie?
Yeah.
And so I think that goes with the RareX, like, thank you all for everyone who was able to participate. I know that I get behind on these things too. I know I have some right now I need to go update. But when you have time, get on, update it, like put on a show while you do it, whatever you need. But, and then I think that goes with this slide, which is just that Dr. Bain, who is a neurologist, who has looked a lot at the connection. I'm saying this in my language, which is definitely not the medical language, but the connection with a cerebral palsy diagnosis and our kids. And that is something that she could also pull from this. You're gonna speak to this way better than me, Katie. But I know that's really important for our Simons Searchlight. And I know we did the big push for RareX, and now I think we really need to be catching up our Simons Searchlight. Is that right?
Yeah, and it's just so exciting because it's another publication, and there are, I want to say, like somewhere between 120 and 140 people enrolled in Simons, and Simons has been around first. If you're like one of the like OG Med13L crew that Kelly, you're an OG. I think we should get like a proper like OG t-shirts of everybody. Simons Searchlight was the only thing that was around, and they were the only people out there. And so they're wonderful, and they have their quarterly reports, and it's very helpful. And was all that was out there for so long. And they've grown cell lines for us. And just to give context, cell lines are about $8,000 to grow. They've grown that for us for free. The problem and why we pivoted to RareX is because we can't get Simon Searchlight information out. So we were, and it's just been, there's just a little more red tape. So RareX, it's all de-identified. I can't see who is who. All we can see is the back end data, and we can send that directly to our researchers. But Dr. Bain is a VIP in this space. She's been with Simon Searchlight forever. She is just a wonderful human, and I think she never sleeps. And she's like, listen, I'm really interested in doing a clinical trial with you guys. I need to learn what your community looks like, what I think are meaningful endpoints, what we should measure for a clinical trial. How do I do that? I'm going to mine your Simon Searchlight data. While I'm in there, I'm going to give you guys a publication, because I know that's what you need. I know that's what it improves the clinical care your children are receiving. And it's what gets bigger industry thinking about you and caring about you and putting you on the map. So this is huge. And I'm really excited for her talk in July. And, again, if you can't be there, it will all be recorded. And she has some really exciting things to share with the community too. Back to you, Becca.
Okay. I think that's that. Update your Simon.
Oh, sorry. I forgot I'm in charge of. And it's available in many languages. And I know I kept telling everybody in other countries that RareX would be available in other languages, and they proved to me to be a liar, because it's still not available. So if you did RareX in another language, I owe you a lot. We all owe you a lot. Thank you so much. Simon Searchlight is making it a lot easier. It's already available, so you don't have to do the translations. How great is this burger that Vanessa made, everybody?
I feel like Vanessa should go over this then. If this is her graphic, it's so good.
No, it's all you, Becca. It's totally fine.
Oh.
Thank you.
Well, I think this is just showing everything that we're doing, everything that's out there for us, that's a tool for us to use in the research, in talking to doctors and researchers and scientists. And, I think the top is the Facebook group, right? And the community, and all of us and all of you and all our kiddos. That's where it starts, is us creating this community and giving us a space and coming together and asking questions. And then it goes from there. So the big news, you guys know most of this, the RareX, the Simon Searchlight. But the big news is there's a new platform that's coming out, Citizen. And this is going to be a place, no surveys, nothing you have to fill out, not stressful, but a really great tool. I have a mom friend that's in a different rare disease group, and we learned about Citizen at their conference in December, and they think it's been a huge help for them. So basically it is a platform where we can upload all of our kids' medical records. I'm 90% certain there's de-identification.
It is de-identified.
So it's
100% certain it is de-identified.
Okay, 100%.
Make that.
So I know the internet can be scary. I am intimidated by it and putting stuff up there, but this is a safe, secure site where you can put all your records and then use that with your doctors when you go in for care coordination. And like Katie and Vanessa have emphasized, how hard is it when we have to go in and we have to really speak up to things because doctors just tell us we're wrong, but we're like, but we have all this other information, and here it is in one platform for us to use and for doctors to use. So we'll be rolling that out at the conference in July. Can people enroll before that or no?
Yes, we're going to do a very strategic and informative, because I get it. This is another ask, and you guys are probably like, oh my gosh, please stop. But again, like Becca said, no surveys. This is way less painful. I kind of wish we started with this instead. Cause you kind of, but you ate your vegetables first. Now you get the dessert. This is the easy one. And I will say again, it's another piece of the puzzle. Simon's Rare X, those are surveys, those are parent reported surveys, those are caregiver reported. They're saying, my opinion as a parent, this is where my child is. This is the medical data. So this is just another piece of the puzzle that says, all right, this is what the parents are saying. This is what the doctors are saying. I think we probably know the parents are right, but the scientists want to hear the doctors too. So we got it up, we got them all together. And I guess it's not a puzzle, it's a burger. Why do I keep saying puzzle? You should be correcting me, Vanessa. So we are going to roll that out at the end of May. So we have kind of June, there'll probably be some questions. We're going to probably work out some bugs and, or maybe it'll just be seamless and perfect because that's how all of our lives go, right? Now this is definitely you, Becca.
Oh, yeah, this is me. Okay, there's a question in the group. So Michelle said bye. I'm guessing she's already gone, but bye, Michelle. Ashley, do you need us to send you a link for the conference information?
Yes.
Okay. Do you want to connect
put-
after this and we can talk to you more about it? Or do more people have questions?
I'll put the link to the webpage in the chat.
Okay, the brief info is it's in July, it's in Boston. It's going to be a combination of research opportunities, people coming and talking and giving us a bunch of information that's really overwhelming, but then after the scientists and the medical people talk, they'll give us families a breakdown of what it all means. And it's an opportunity to meet other Med13L families in person. I know that can be hard depending on where you're coming from. But we would love for as many people as possible to be there. I know, speaking for myself. But we can, Vanessa's going to put the link in and then we can also connect with you afterwards. Okay. Is that okay?
Yeah.
All right. Next one.
Sorry.
Slide.
Right.
Okay, I know we hear a lot about fundraising. I like just the thought of fundraising gives me all the cringy vibes. Makes me nervous to ask people for money. It makes me uncomfortable. But when we got our diagnosis, it was actually like a year ago this month, we met with the genetics counselor and got our diagnosis. And then we had a call with Katie and I didn't know what to do, but she was talking about all this research and all these things. And I just was like, I want to do something. And long story short, my husband had a dream of doing an Ironman before his 40th birthday. And we decided to turn it into a fundraiser. Truly we thought we would raise we were hoping for like $1,000 to $2,000. Like we had no idea. We were just, he was already planning to do it. And it was this brand new information we had. And people in our community were just saying like, anything we can do, anything we can do. And I think that right when it's new, it is a time when people that love you or care about you want to do something and they don't know what to do. And as parents, we know we hold all this space and we hold all this time for our kids. And honestly, a lot of times nobody can help us. Nobody can step in and take all our kids to the appointments and go to all the doctor's appointments or find the care they need or whatever it is. Like nobody else can do a lot of that. And so we were blown away by the response to the fundraiser. Like we just posted it on Facebook. And is it okay to share what we raised? We raised $20,000. Like I was like in tears for weeks. I was blown away by the community. Like I think it's a really good opportunity. So while the idea of fundraising was so uncomfortable for both me and my husband, we do not like asking for money. It really I don't even have the words. Like I still get emotional when I think about it. And I really think people want to do stuff. Your people care about you and they care about your kids. And I think the other thing that I learned is like, there is so much research in the rare disease world going on. There is so much going on right now, and it's connecting so much information that people have had for years. And so when I can talk to people about that, they're like, wow, that's amazing. Like, this isn't just going to Cooper. This is going to kids all over the world. And like, that's what's also incredible. So I just think if you are debating it, you don't have to do an Ironman. That was very excessive. But do a 5K or just put it out there. And again, like Katie said, like every dollar counts. It doesn't matter. Like that was shocking. I don't think we would ever get that turnout again. But I think it was the power of this was such new information to us. We were taking it in. The people in our community were hearing us talk about it, hearing us processing it, and they just wanted to support us in whatever way they could. So that's my pitch for like if you're debating, do it. It's worth it. You will be surprised. You'll be blown away. And it all goes to like such a wonderful cause. And I think I don't know if it's still the special but or the thing you're doing, but if you raised $1,000, your tickets for the conference are waived, which is also just saves you some money if you can have people do that. So that's my pitch on that.
Well, and
Really
speaking of,
easy. Katie made it really like once we figured out the platform, it was really easy to do.
yeah. Well, thank you. Well, and speaking of doing the most, like an Ironman, we have another person here that did the most and drove across a country. James, can you talk about what you did? And, not a new diagnosis. You're kind of an OG by now for us, I feel like.
I think a few years. So, yeah, well, I finished up with my employer in November. And I just sort of, I mean, I was only working 3 5-hour days. But even with that and sort of having support worker, like I was just sort of still struggling, I think, to just be able to work, but also, do everything else that you need to do and try and look after your child the best. And anyway, I decided that I got some severance pay and I decided that I wanted to go away and have a holiday with Patrick. And we looked overseas and I lived in Melbourne for 12 years. Patrick was born there. And we came back to Perth 4 years ago. And so, I mean, I've been back a few times to see mates and everything like that. So then I thought I'd drive back because I had a mate in New South Wales as well. And I thought, well, at least if I drive, then we could go and visit him as well. And then one night I was going to sleep and then I just thought, why can't I turn this into a fundraiser for Med13L? So we started to put some sort of ideas together about, what we could do, created a Facebook page. Katie and Vanessa were enormous in providing us with, graphics and flyers and QR codes and everything like that. I was looking at, okay, well, other than just asking people on the road, to donate, and one of the issues that we ran into, I mean, because we only had probably less than 2 months from when I decided that we would do this to actually when we were going to leave. And then I looked at about, trying to receive donations in Australia, just rattling tins and stuff like that. But we actually needed to be a registered charity in Australia, which is something that I'm looking at doing, just sort of registering either a foundation in Patrick's name or, getting some sort of Australian foundation registered. So that we could just rattle tins. But we sort of overcame that by creating T-shirts which had the QR codes on there to link to our Facebook page and also to link to the Just Giving page, so that we weren't taking money physically. We were just getting people to go onto the, click on the link and on the QR code and go on there and donate. And I was looking at, other ways that could we do a raffle if we went out and sought sponsorship from companies and stuff like that, or could we do a live auction? And so I started writing to so many businesses, and like you, Becca, I mean, it's something that I'm not comfortable in a lot of ways in doing. And again, just talking about it now, I feel a bit emotional about, we were able to do as well. And just the response of people, like his carers were all behind it. And I had his daycare teacher who was mainly looked after him when he was at daycare, and she was such a big driver on Facebook and rallying people to attend. And we ended up having a live auction. So the amount of businesses that I wrote to and also visited personally, like we'd drive out to the Swan Valley here in Perth, and it's like a local wine region, and we were getting donations, and you get knocked back, and at first, like I had one business reply on an email, and then you're like, oh, okay. And then the next day I got another one, and then the next day I got another one. And then it was like, so we started getting these items coming through, and it's like, okay, well, we've got 6 or 7 items, but we haven't really got enough to do an auction yet. And at the end of the day, I mean, I had people reaching out to me on Facebook that were wanting to help, that were businesses that, like real estate agents, they couldn't necessarily provide a product or a gift voucher or something like that, but they wanted to donate money, or could they buy something that we would be able to use and auction off. And I got very cheeky towards the end as well. I had one lady from the real estate that wanted to donate $200 or get something that we could auction off. And I'd been eyeing, I really wanted to get an overnight stay at like a hotel to auction off. And I'd been hustling all the hotels here, and they kept on knocking me back and everything like that. And anyway, the hotel on the beach, the Rendezvous, had a 2-night stay for 2 people and a late checkout and breakfast. And it was like $400 for the 2 nights. So when this lady offered to buy something or to donate 200, I said, well, actually, I had my eye on this, is something that I really wanted to get for the auction. I mean, and I put my hand in my pocket as well on a couple of businesses as well. And anyway, I said, but this package is $400. And so she went to her colleagues in her office at work, and then came back to me and said, well, they want to donate 200 as well, so we'll buy you the gift voucher for that. So we ended up having, I think we had about 50 lots all up of combined prizes, and that we probably had over about $7,000 worth of items to auction off. And with the auction alone, we raised $4,500, and we only had about 20 people attend online live. We did it on Facebook. I had thought about, could we get a venue, and maybe one of the sponsors that one of the local pubs or something, that we could do it, and that way we would have a live component as well. We sort of ran short of time as well, again, just trying to get everything organized, and then trying to sort of get a venue as well, but the auction, everybody really loved the auction. It was a great night. We had issues, we couldn't host it on the Facebook page that we set up, and we only discovered that about an hour before the auction was due to kick off, because we hadn't registered the page for 60 days to hold a live event. Yet it actually allowed me to create an event with a live event, but we only found out on the night, so I had to redirect everybody to my Facebook page. We and then other people just donated along the way. And then the drive from Perth to Melbourne's about 3,500 kilometers, and so we had to stop at several places along the way. I think about 4 nights, and the plan was that we would get out and try and raise some funds and rattle some tins. And we had our shirts on, and we had our flyers and posters on Patrick Stroller and everything. But I got a little bit shy. I mean, it was hard, because then when you'd stop for the night, like you've driven 10 hours for the day or whatever, and stopped for an hour or so along the way. And so it's like 11, 12-hour day. And by that stage, you just sort of, you're trying to get him settled and fed for the night. And then, then the next day you're on the road again. So it was sort of, I didn't have a lot of opportunity in that sort of way I got a little bit shy as well in sort of going out and actually asking people for money, but I just displayed our shirts, and some people would ask, how what the whole thing was. When we got to Melbourne, we went down to the Burke Street Mall, which is a very popular mall in Melbourne, and quite infamous in terms of there was a vehicle that drove down Burke Street Mall and killed about 7 people about 5 or 6 years ago. And so, but it's a hive of activity, and we sat around there, and they have street performers and stuff, and we had all of our displays, our shirts and everything on, and then we went to the Australian Open and the tennis, the Grand Slam tennis, and initially we had our shirts on and we had the banners on his stroller, and I also had a big fold up pull up poster banner, which I actually never used on our drive, but we took that with us to the Australian Open, and they were like, oh well, we had to get special clearance from the head management team, had to come down and see what we were doing, and they ended up taking the banner or putting it in the cloakroom, but they allowed us to continue to wear our t-shirts and leave the posters on Patrick's stroller, but they asked us not to draw sort of any overt attention to ourselves, but we're happy if people came up or asked questions that we could discuss it with them. So that was really good, just sort of trying to get the awareness out there and raise awareness and also raise money. I went out with the boys. His support worker flew over on the Friday night, and I went out with the boys on Friday night, and I was like, I'm not going to ask anything. But later on in the evening, one of my mates, and we were just chatting to a couple of guys, different. One guy was Scottish, one guy was an American, and he was telling them about my trip and everything like that. And I was like, mate, I need you to come with me the whole time, because he was selling the story. And the American guy, he donated 100. The next day when I checked, I don't know what happened. We were sure we watched everything, and he pressed confirm and everything, but the money didn't go through. But we got $50 from the Scottish bloke, and then so like it was. I kind of wish I did that a little bit more, but as I say, I think if I actually had the tins, I would have been happier rattling tins and sort of talking about our story and stuff. And so next time that we sort of look at doing it, as I say, I've sort of had just a little bit of a break. We did go up to Kalbarri just in the Easter holidays recently, which is about 6 hours from Perth, and I've just sort of had to take a bit of time to, I guess, decompress from doing that and everything, and because it is such a long drive. But I'm eyeing off driving to Darwin next year through South Australia and up to Darwin, and then back down along Western Australia coast, and which is about a 9,000 kilometre drive or something like that, or 8.5. So, but accommodation we paid for all the way and everything like that, and so now would be a good time for me to start working on those businesses and getting like a major sponsor that could actually, whether they match dollar for dollar in terms of donations, or whether we can get accommodation, whether we can get a vehicle sponsored, those sort of things. So if we start a bit earlier, that we'd be hopeful of doing that. We did have a goal of $7,000 for, I just figured $1 for each kilometre that we were travelling. And all up, we ended up raising about 6,300 or something. We were a little bit short. I was hoping that we would get there on the travel, but as I say, I got a little bit shy in terms of sort of asking people directly. But yeah, if we can register a foundation here, then I did buy the plastic tins to rattle and stuff. So and everybody really loved the auction, and it was such a great night and good fun. So I've got some ideas about venues where where we could host it with a live component, but also still a Facebook auction. It was probably good in a way that it was small and people that we mainly knew, because we didn't have time. The idea was being on Facebook and everything that we could check to make sure that people had made their payments, and then within 10 minutes, if they hadn't made their payment, then the item would go to the second highest bidder. We didn't have time on the night to check all of that and keep up with everything and the auction and the lots and stuff. So it was, but everyone did pay what they'd bid for. So it all worked out well in that regard. So yeah, we're looking at doing maybe I really like the auction and the business support that we got, and I'd definitely like to sort of have that as an annual event. And I've been thinking up other ideas, but like Beck said, it's difficult in some ways because you feel like you're asking a lot of people as well, and there are so many causes out there that and there are and with such a rare disease, then a lot of people go, well, I'd rather donate to breast cancer or to MND or to, because that
They
affects
have a lot of money.
A
We
lot.
can tell you what we're doing
affects,
with your money. You
yeah,
can't say
it
that
affects
anywhere else.
yeah, so it affects a lot of people, and so they think if they donate here, like how much is getting through. So I probably need a few spokespeople like Katie and yourself and Vanessa, and that certainly helps. So but it's not something that I shy away from, and I'm definitely keen to hold more events, and I've got a few ideas, but it's just like are you going to the well too many times? But you just do it. You do it for your kids. So
James, can I just interrupt right there? Sorry. First of all, thank you so much. It sounds like you went on a fantastical adventure to bring awareness to Australia about
Vanessa, I want a T-shirt that says "Getting Cheeky and Shaking Cans." Wait, is that what you said? Tin. Wait, what did you say, James? Tin. Oh, well, everything you say just sounds cooler.
Yeah.
Rattling tins.
Rattling tins and getting cheeky. Okay. Sorry.
I love it.
That'll be in the bonfire shop next.
Yeah,
Sorry,
right. No, I just wanted to say, because you were saying, like, where is the money going? We have a graphic actually that we just updated. Teeny tiny, took me like, literally like 6 hours to do it. But Katie makes the request and I do it. Number one, I do want to say 99% of the foundation is run by volunteers. Katie and myself, we're volunteers. We're literally just parents, just like you guys, that are, drowning with our day jobs, and as well as raising, a child with Meth-or-Chenal. And some of us have other kids. Katie has 3 total. We're drowning. But we did put together this fundraising page to literally show where you can download it, you can put it, and you can say to whoever, text it, email, whatever, where this is where the money's going. Kate, I don't know if you're able to pull it up, but it's like we're fundraising specifically for every step of the way to make us ready for when that pharmaceutical company is like, all right, let's help you. We're trying to make ourselves readily available for actual help. So I guess that translates to that slide. Yeah, there you go.
This is another thing I'll send through, and just one small plug, because we just talked about an Ironman driving across the country. So you guys like really set the bar up here. But what I'm doing, what Vanessa's doing, what Juan's doing is a dine and donate. And I put some information in the chat or in the family group chat. And that's, at the end of the day, that's really easy. And it's a group raise, .com.org. I put it in the family group. And you go in there, you put in our EIN, and you can pick a date, and you just send everybody, family, friends go there, and they donate 20%. Vanessa, Juan, I believe you're doing it at Chipotle.
Yep,
I'm doing
Chipotle.
it at a place called Portillo's. Not everybody knows about it, but it's cool in Chicago, I promise.
I love it.
So that's an easier one. And then back to Becca.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the other thing, like, we're not going to stop asking, like, we're going to do It's not going to be that big every time. Like the next will be smaller ones, but it's exciting. So it's late. We've been on here 90 minutes. I don't want to keep everybody too long. Exciting news is that we have I don't know if you guys have heard of her. Her name's Laura Smith on Instagram. She's SLP Mommy of Apraxia. When I first found out Cooper, I actually got his apraxia speech diagnosis before we got the genetic diagnosis. So I found her first. She's incredible. She's a mom. She's a speech language pathologist by trade. And while she was in her speech career, found out her daughter had apraxia. She has a book out there. She has an Instagram account that's great to follow. She hasn't done a podcast in a while, but her podcasts are also really informative. And she has agreed to come on and do a little Zoom webinar for us, for our community, to give some information and answer any questions. This is kind of if you're having trouble with speech and you're not with an apraxia specialist, there's a good chance our kids, the apraxia diagnosis is a motor-based diagnosis. And because we know our kids have motor coordination issues, it makes sense that this is likely connected to your kiddo. And she's just a wealth of knowledge, and she's a mom who's also been through it. Her daughter also has a rare diagnosis, not MED13L, but a different genetic condition. She's wonderful. So we're going to put a date out as soon as we have it confirmed. But
and Becca, one quick plug. I just want to tell a story really fast. That cognition and speech video, Simon Searchlight, show that to your therapist. They talk about apraxia. Also, Simon Searchlight did a informational from a therapist point of view on what is apraxia. And, you know, I listened to it. I was like, okay, yeah, this is great. And actually, James, the person who gave the speech, is an Australian therapist. So this is an international therapeutic strategy. But, you know, it was like another thing on the list. Like, okay, so now I got to change. I feel like my child's therapy is like a house of cards, and every time I want to change one thing, like it all comes crumbling down. I have to rebuild the whole thing. So it is very, very overwhelming. But I met with Becca. Becca introduced me to Laura, and I just listened to them, and I was like, okay, holy smokes, this is worth kind of switching out it was more of Jenga. I was able to kind of pull one out, pull one in. And I have seen huge improvements going to an apraxia-based speech therapist. So huge plug for it.
The
So
biggest takeaway that I got from Laura after listening to her stuff, if you don't have time to listen and you don't have time to watch, like her whole point is like, if you have a kid with a motor-based speech disorder and they aren't getting a motor-based speech approach, they are not going to make change. It does not matter. And when I sat in on the difference between the speech therapy Cooper was getting and then sat in on a session with her, you could see the difference. And we have seen changes. So to speak to Katie's point too. So it's worth it. If you don't know, if you're feeling stuck, if you're frustrated, even if your kid's little and you're not really there yet, start now. Like, sign on. It's good. She's a wealth of knowledge. So there was one question up above that I want to go back to. Oh, and I did put the YouTube for the mitochondria thing, or sorry, not the mitochondria, the speech cognitive that Katie just referenced. I put that in the chat too. But Vern had a question. He said, I'm excited about the conference. We're planning on attending. Will there be follow-up? So Katie or Vanessa, can you speak to that?
So Vern, when you mean follow-up, like ability to, what do you mean by follow-up? Whoa, sorry.
I mean, like, is there going to be any post event ability to converse with said specialists, seeing as I'm 2,000 plus miles away?
So we're not having doctor's appointments. We are having researchers and other specialists speak on the type of care our children should be receiving. So then we kind of take that information and those recordings and kind of send it over to our doctor's team so they know that they're providing the correct care, that your children are seeing the right specialist, if that makes sense. Vanessa.
I think maybe I'm hearing it differently. Is it like any of the researchers that are like the clinicians there that are going to be evaluating the kids, so whether it's an EEG or just collecting information on your child, are you asking if you're going to be able to get information back from them? And are you able to follow up just as like touch point? Is that what you're asking?
Yes, because we're planning on flying in there Tuesday night, and we were going to attend for the Wednesday, Thursday component as well, to try and we're going to make the most out of this opportunity as possible.
Absolutely. And thank you for doing that. Thank you for making that effort. And so really your participation, any of our participation in this is to give it to these researchers who it takes forever, but they're going to information and put it in a whether it's a publication or something that the foundation can share out, or they're going to put it in like a like a medical journal. So that's the type of stuff. So like the reason why we're doing EEGs is because we are specifically trying to get information on whether or not our kids have a specific brain wave pattern that is unique to Med13L. So a lot of our kids, even though we don't have seizures, some do, a lot don't, our kids' brainwaves actually have like a key signature where it's like, my kid has it, Katie's son has it, and so forth, and the reason why it's not like you're going to need an EEG to be like, oh, that kid has Med13L. That's not what it's for. What it's for is we need to be able to say, this is a measurable thing that all Med13L kids have. And the drug company found a treatment. And because it's hard to measure speech and how well someone's speaking, us parents, we were like, oh yeah, my kid's saying a few new words, few more words than normal, whatever. But you can't do that on like a survey. It's so hard. But what they can see is something that's literally black and white, the EEG waves. So if we get this information, we can prove that our kids have a unique brain wave signature. And we're simultaneously trying to find drugs, right? So this is where all the money is going, guys. We're simultaneously trying to find drugs, medications to give to our kids. If we find something and we're like, oh, look, my child's speaking more, my child's doing this, the way that they can prove maybe that it's working is, oh my gosh, that brain wave that's unique to kids with Med13L, it actually normalized. So there's change. It's measurable change that's black and white that cannot be contested by mom saying, oh, no, there's 2 more words than he's ever said in his entire life and like whatever, because the FDA doesn't care about that. They want to see something that's literally anyone can run the same test and prove. That's unfortunately our burden of proof. That's what that's for. And same with the other information. Remember we talked about like learning, what is, Bob gonna look like when he's 25? Because I know that now because a 25-year-old person like participated and look, this is what they look like. So that's what all that is. It's literally getting the information together. So is there a direct benefit like that day, that month, maybe that year there will be, because we're operating like our hair is on fire, maybe, but you're not going to have like a relationship with these clinicians again.
Okay. No,
Does that make sense?
that's very helpful. That definitely gives some clarity. I know someone else is asking the same question in the chat, but I'll ask it now too. Is there a schedule that we have to apply for? I know I've talked to you specifically about this, Katie. You were saying that we would get that, down the road. I was wondering, are you scheduling people, or are we just showing up and just first come first serve, or how's that component working?
Or the blood draws
for like the Wednesday, Thursday, the EEGs and all.
Sure. So for the blood draws, we email Rachel Heilman, and she just needs to do consents ahead of time.
Okay.
And then you'll be in, you're all consented and you're ready to go. When you get there for the natural history study and the EEGs, that will go through enrollment with Boston Children's. So we should be able to we have a press release with them. It is with their media team. Actually, they just gave me comments. I got it like right before this meeting started. So I just have to prove it. And then it's going to be ready to go and they'll start circulating the documents. So you just need to reach out to them.
So I got to reach out to Boston.
And I'll give you all the information of how to do it.
Okay, that's good. That's definitely helpful. Otherwise, I'll just be emailing this random person in Boston
Yeah,
Children's.
yeah, no, don't do like info@bostonchildrens.com. That
That'll
won't
get
help.
lost. That'll get lost in the shuffle, and I'll never hear from
Yeah,
them again.
we will blast you with the information of how to do it. I'm not sure if you guys saw, but on the conference, where you sign up is the schedule for the science day at least. So again, even if you are unable to go, the schedule is up there. Those will be recorded, but if you kind of want to look at who's going to be speaking and if you're on the
Right.
fence about it. So, and kind of all of our research we have painstakingly put on our website. It is there. So every grant we've issued, publications, summaries. So just, take some time, comb through it. There's a lot of information there. So, and just to give a heads up, Science Day is going to be, I was so excited for Science Day. And then I was like, I have no idea what these people are talking about. The next day, it's going to be all broken down and it'll be people like us talking and like using regular words. And so we will have, if you're a science person and love that stuff, we got that for you. And then if your brain is exploding, we've got it broken down. And I always think of the Office clip of when Oscar is explaining a surplus to Michael and he's like, talk to me like I'm 8 years old. So that's what's playing in my brain when I'm trying to figure out stuff.
Get out the big crayons. I need them.
Yeah.
Pictures and all.
Exactly. How will I share this information? Yes, on the Facebook page. Did we ever get an email sign up for this meeting?
It's up, it is. Vanessa created it. It's in the chat. We can.
Oh, here we go. Okay, so I'm just gonna put it in the chat one more time. If everybody could just put their email in that, we'll also send this, all this information to, for the question of how will I get this information, I will send it there too. If you are signed up, you will get it that way. And if you are not signed up, but you're interested, just email me too, and I will email you.
Will it be on the Facebook page too? Like, are we going to blast it on there?
Yeah, it'll be in all the places, but things get buried in Facebook groups too. There's an algorithm. It's wild. I try my best. I don't know. Is anyone friends with Mark Zuckerberg? We get a CZI grant. Yeah. So thank you guys so much.
I did post
Really.
I post the tentative schedule in the group chat, but also it's on the Met 13L website. So if you're looking, scroll down, find the conference, it's on there. I'm sure Katie's updating it regularly. So
One more question, and then I'll leave you guys alone. Childcare, is that on like a on-demand basis, or do we have to sign up for that as well? I know you posted it in the group chat a couple days ago.
Yeah. So I just need to know like how many kids. So, okay, this was just one other piece, meant to say it way earlier, but also James, like when you were talking about when people are like, hey, I'm fundraising for Met13L, it's a rare disease. Like this is just one disease. How much help am I really doing? What we are learning, especially through Combined Brain, is our community has a neurodevelopmental disorder. The research that is helping is helping literally hundreds of different disorders. And where the genetic mutation is, and there's another genetic mutation downstream, if we can help the downstream, sometimes if we can help the upstream, it's helping. So we have really been working with Combined Brain, trying to figure out who should we be working with, because we literally, again, I have like the High School Musical song, we're all in this together playing in my head. Like we have to find our other groups and we have to work together. And that's what we've been doing. So we are co-hosting this with a group called CTNNB1. That's the name of their gene. They are actually downstream of us. So research, it benefits each other, what we learn, what they learn, drugs that could help them, vice versa. So there will be some lectures that overlap, and then there will be a lot of lectures that are separate too. And why did I start talking about that? Shoot. What was I talking about?
Well, the other benefit for that too, guys, is to help bring down the cost of this production. It's very expensive. It's also really key. So if we think about, I don't want to fundraise for the family meetup, but it's more than that. It's literally the researchers are there. They're disseminating information. the connections. I'm telling you that when Katie's son was first diagnosed, I first met her in Baltimore. Is it Baltimore? It was
Mhm.
Boston, Baltimore.
Baltimore.
Where it was the first Met 13L family meetup ever. And the connections we made, I mean, it's like Coral, who you saw on the call earlier, who was chatting away. I'm telling you, as my daughter, I think Elle was like 4 or 5 when we first went, and I met Coral, and that beautiful girl gave me so much hope for my child. Like Coral's like, you know, she at the time was going to school to get like life skills. She was like getting ready to like, get a, supported job. She was so social. She was so chatty, and it just that to me is priceless. So, anyways, sorry, I'm like talking too long,
Yeah.
but
No.
yeah,
I think my point too is just like the counterbalance to that is high tides raise all ship, and when a win for one is a win for all, and when you make a donation to Met13L, you are making a donation to literally hundreds of different rare diseases. And the one other plug I want to say is science is really hard, genetics is really hard, and we have a genetic counselor who has recorded an amazing presentation for us that we're just tweaking a little final things for it because he's brand new genetic counselor. So we're making sure it's perfect for you guys. And it is going to explain this genetics 101 because this is really complicated. And I think I have it figured out. And then I like turn the page of a research thing and it just blows my mind and I know nothing. So I'm really excited about this. We're also going to blast this out to the community too. So you'll be able to see it. But I just wanted to say thank you guys so much for showing up tonight, and anyone watching it recorded later. It literally means the world. We're pouring all of ourselves and all of our heart into this for all of you guys, and we're all in this together. So thank you guys. And if there's any way you want to get involved, anything you want to see, let me know. What are you gonna say, Becca?
Any questions? I just want to open it up before I know people are signing off, but does anybody have questions?
Thanks.
I think I started your tangent. I was asking about childcare.
Childcare. See, Vern, I knew. I was like, someone pulled me back. I just need to know the number.
Just don't want to interrupt you.
Because no, I need to be, if I go on a tangent, just like,
okay.
There's my mom. I was raised with 3 brothers who interrupted me all the time. So I need it. We are splitting childcare. So I keep asking for that number because I want to reserve those spots for Met13L kids. Okay. These are our spots. So I do think like we're okay because we had to guarantee 75 kids minimum. CTNNB1 has a slightly bigger, not diagnosed population. They just have been at this a little longer. So they have a few people coming, but yeah, that is a very long answer to just let me know and I will save you a spot.
Okay. Yeah, no, we'll definitely take advantage of maybe not all of it, but just some of it here and there. Just because Caitlin's 13 already, so she might be good for some things, but other things we definitely probably know she won't be.
Yeah. And I mean, this is a professional company. This is what they do. It's going to be fun. It's like camp. So I think the kids are going to be excited to be there and they're going to be with their friends playing. It's going to be really cool.
Well, thank you so much for doing this, ladies. I really appreciate all your effort, and I'll do what I can to pitch in where I can. My wife just walked in the door right now from her own other meeting. So,
hi Chelsea, and thank you, Vern, for everything you do. We appreciate you, and thank you, James. Oh my gosh, you drove across the country. I mean, if that's not spreading awareness and raising money, I don't know what is. You got to pick up a researcher next time. You'll get there.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Time for me, it's 8 o'clock in the morning, except little man wake up at 3:30 today. So,
oh man, it's 10 o'clock here for me.
There's something. Do people have a lot of like sleep issues? Do everyone else have that? Like he will maximum sleep 8 hours. Maybe very rarely he could get 9 or 10, but it's pretty much 8 hours at best.
That is in the disease concept model. you probably added to that number because that was a big number in caregiver reported and very small in publication. So when we roll out the priority survey, you're going to want to mention like, hey, look into sleep, what is going on? And that's where we will kind of put our efforts. And yeah, just make sure in your surveys you're talking about it too. And we will, yeah, Ashley too. We will get publications on that too and kind of be able to figure out what the standard of care should be for that. Vanessa can figure it out for us since she's a nurse.
We've tried melatonin, but that seemed to actually make things worse. But
Yeah.
the GP did say, like it is part, just kids with neurological conditions. Some of them just, they don't sleep well, and that may just be the fact of life. And so.
Oh, you're muted.
I know it's like all over everyone's feed, right? All over. There's
You're going in and out, Vanessa.
Vanessa, we can't hear you.
hour-long meeting before this. Oh, it's gone. Hold on. It's fine. Never mind. Sorry, can you hear me?
James, I think I would not end with it is what it is. Like there's stuff to be done. We just need to figure out what's going on. Cause I think there's something going on and there's a reason and maybe it's not all
Yeah,
the same,
I might have put that bad. I didn't mean as in
no,
like,
but I feel like sometimes doctors do say it is what it is.
Yeah. But it's, I mean, that sort of did help me then go, okay, yeah, well that, it's, obviously if there's research and things that are discovered and that can help, then that's great. But I wasn't having a pot shot at her either. But yeah, I know doctors will, that's just how it is, but that's how it is at the moment. So.
James, before I was like glitching myself, look into magnesium is what I was trying to say to you. Magnesium has been proven to kind of really help all of us of all ages, including really like even my mother who has Alzheimer's, it's instead of neurodevelopmental, it's neurodegenerative. But magnesium, there's different types of magnesium. It's not just any magnesium. So do some research, talk to your doctor. It's like glycinate, there's like threonate, there's all this stuff you can do. You can try different ones you could try, obviously within the guidance of your physician. But there are definitely alternatives to try. And to Katie's point, like that, those are the type of things that we're trying to help, finding a compound that's going to help, perhaps, the methertinel of some sort or whatever downstream effect could impact. Look, suddenly they're sleeping through the night. Nothing else has changed from this medication that we found, but oh my gosh, this child's actually getting decent sleep, in which they need in order for their nerves to grow and to new ones develop and prune and blah, whatever. But those are the type of things that we're hoping the compounds that we're chasing after are going to fix. So your life, so you can get sleep and you can be a better parent and you can be an actual person instead of the zombie. But yeah. Try it. Look into magnesium.
Our doctor prescribed that as well.
Oh,
maybe because we
whiskey at this stage.
Yeah. Anyways, thank you again, everyone, so much. James, thank you. Amazing. Becca, amazing. Thank you so much for raising your hand and jumping in. Because as you can see, it's a lot of work. It's a lot. So, and thank you to Katie for being the best leader we could have. So thank you.
Yeah, huge shout out to you.
Yeah.
Thanks for being my hype person, guys. We're just trying to figure it out and trying our best, and that's all we can do. And thanks, Mom, for being my number one hype person.
Thanks, Mom.
For the other day, Katie.
I love being a part of it all. And I will say, your encouragement for fundraising was just wonderful. And I hope that everybody here really heard both Becca and James, because people do want to do something and they don't know what to do. Mm-hmm. And so, they send meals and they send cards and, all of these things. But when you have a fundraiser, that's what they can do. And they do it. And it's with a lot of humility that you ask people, James, you hard to rattle the tins. I love that expression, but it is difficult. But I just want all of you to know that, you know, being one of those people that wants to help, that wants to do, my friends want to help, want to do. And so let them, give them an opportunity to do it. So here's the fundraising.
Yeah.
We need it.
We have another
All of
Med
you.
13L grandma on the call too, and that's where they're at. You guys
Yeah.
got a little more time than we do, so can you help us? But yeah, thank you so much. And Juan, I know you're hosting a fundraiser, so thank you so much. And yeah,
Not a
Actually,
problem.
well-
It's my pleasure helping as much as I can. I'm sorry, but I'm working. That's why I'm like with my camera off.
yeah,
But
understand.
I'm at work.
And
But,
thank you
yeah.
for raising your hand to help with South America too, because that's really what we need too. Sorry, I cut you
Yeah,
off.
I got in contact with a couple families. Some of them answered me. I told them about this meeting. I don't think that I seen anybody of them in there, but I have told them about this meeting, about the conference that we're gonna have in July. So trying to see if they can join us, at least virtually or somehow. But as much as I can do, I will be able to help.
Absolutely.
Thank
And we
you.
recorded this too, so they can watch it later. And, you know, Vanessa upgraded our Zoom platform, so hopefully
I wanna-
captions worked.
I
So
want to say something, but is there a way that we can get physicians to map the brain? Because the EEG is not the only way to map the brain. They can do also a PET scan. It's really hard to involve physicians to order a PET scan. EEG, they order it without any issues, but another way to map the brain would be a PET scan.
The
But-
first thing, Juan, that comes to my mind is that would require sedation for a child.
Yes, it
Um,
does.
So,
It does
you know,
require.
that's a hard, I don't know, you know, a lot of our kids, like Elle's probably, she has surgery again coming up, but she's been through so many things to give her propofol again, you know, to me, it's like, there's hesitation there. So that's my one first, like, kind of thought with that.
Yeah, I know. Like Olivia, my daughter is also will have to go under surgery. We don't know
Yeah.
when yet, but Olivia will have to go for a second surgery.
Mhm.
you know, I
think
think
that
that's a
may
great
depend on the
question for
country.
Dr. Bain at the conference too.
Okay.
You know,
It
is
may
this
depend on
something
the-
we should be pushing?
Yeah.
Asking Dr. Chopra, she should be at the conference as well.
Because I have a nephew that has autism, and he did a treatment outside of the state that they map the brain with PET scan, and they have some data. This foundation in India, where they have seen improvement in kids with autism. So it's a really like
Depends
interesting
on the
data.
country.
I'm looking into it. I'm researching it, and so far it's interesting what they are doing in India.
Oh, wow.
It's a
Pat-
stem cell. It's a stem cell therapy they do in India.
Patrick's
They
had
also-
a CAT scan here.
Mhm.
And I should actually, I'll actually ask his pediatrician if she can send me a copy of the report, and because that did show different things that obviously an EEG doesn't show and stuff, but it was hard for them to say what actually this meant, because like he had a lot of grey matter or white matter more so than what is in a normal regular CAT scan. So that's probably something that and again, he did have to be sedated, but it was one of the things that after sort of, or when they did the genetic test, then they had suggested sort of initially that maybe we should do even before an EEG, that they should do a CAT scan here. And again, you know, like, I mean, he's since had surgery for grommets, and then also to correct his eyes with the strabismus, and they cleaned his teeth when he he also, because of the reflux, he had a scope done on his throat and stuff like that. And so again, yeah, like that's about the fourth time that he sort of had a GA or a general anaesthetic or whatever. So yeah, but that was done before any of his other operations. So again, you're sort of reluctant to do too many, but some things need to be done. So.
Yeah. And I think these are great questions, and this is what we're gonna, ask of the doctors, and we gotta get some answers, and we need to have, I think, a publishable, what are they called, Vanessa, like standard of care, or that say,
Yeah.
hey, this is what you need to do. And that is one of our number one goals. And I think it will help no matter the age, if you have a newborn and if you have a 40-year-old, we all need to know what's next and what the standard of care is. And we're going to do it because we're awesome and you guys are awesome. And some people need to start their day and some people need to go to bed.
Yeah. Thanks, Katie. Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye.